1. Cookie-cutter badass mentality. Most survival enthusiasts center their plans for survival around guns, believing that simply possessing enough firepower will make them effectively invincible. They rarely have any solid plans in place for handling the highly unlikely scenario where an opponent actually shoots back. Most seem to plan on any and all opponents either being unarmed to begin with, or simply standing around waiting to be picked off as easy targets because they don't know any better. Survivalists seem to be entrenched in the delusion that a simple gun or two granting dominance over any and all invaders is more or less a given, and it's all just that easy. Most people who have experienced actual armed combat know that entrenched positions, however heavily fortified, are ripe for the picking. They are the easiest of targets because they can't and don't move or change in any way. It's only a matter of time before they're starved out, gassed out, overrun, or some other weakness is discovered and exploited. Those who have experienced combat are rarely enthusiastic about remembering it, much less discussing it. There could be a good reason for this: it's really no fun. Too much television has led the average survivalist to believe in the stock fairy tale where all enemies are obliterated by a simple pistol without putting up any kind of appreciable fight. Too much reality has led the average combat veteran to know that it rarely, if ever, works out that way. The people who survive long enough to make their way to a survivalist's bunker and invade it have already gained enough experience and skill to outwit and outmatch anybody who's holed up there. They will very likely make short work of the entrenchment, no matter how heavily armed it might be. 2. The myth of the impenetrable bunker. There is no shortage of rip-off companies who charge a king's ransom to build underground bunkers with doors that a nuclear bomb would have problems opening. The problem is that the rest of the bunker is rarely any more than 16th-inch steel, easily breached by any number of methods. The dirt covering any bunker is likely to be very loose and easily dug through, exposing the steel roof with very little effort. From there, cutting through that steel is more or less child's play. Further, bunkers require air intakes, which can be easily found, cut off, or fed with poison gas. Worse still, they are stocked with limited supplies that will eventually run out and are not likely to be replenished. Impenetrable bunkers to survive in are more aptly called caskets to die in. 3. The agony of exile. If society has crumbled, it will be enough of a psychological burden just to deal with that. Add to it the knowledge that to leave one's hole in the ground will very probably mean a gruesome death, and it will be all anybody can do to keep their wits about them for even an hour. Let this morbid, depressing life continue, day after day, week after week, and death at one's own hand is every bit as likely as the fate awaiting should one choose to leave the sanctuary. There will be no internet, no going out to eat or to see a movie, no cable television and no news of the outside world. Boredom will become excruciating. Stress will become worse. Very quickly, those holed up but not yet attacked will realize that post-apocalyptic survival may not have been worth the effort required to enable experiencing it. 4. Lack of medical and dental care. This one is pretty much a no-brainer. There will be no drugs available, no hospitals, no doctors, no dentists, no over-the-counter remedies. An abscessed tooth will very likely produce an infection that will become systemic. Any infected nick or cut could end up becoming deadly. Insect, snake, or animal bites are likely to receive minimal care. By their very nature, prescription drugs critical to survival will not be stocked up on. 5. Limited life on all things mechanical. Aside from the fact that most survivalists will include in their preparations few to no tools or supplies for making repairs, much of what they rely on is likely to be electronic. When it dies, it's dead, and there is no replacing it. Items as simple as light bulbs will have a limited life, as will batteries. Power generators will require fuel which will be in limited supply, and manually operated generators are not likely to keep up with the demand for power long term. Anything and everything mechanical has a shelf life. When it's gone, it's gone. Even the simplest of tools, such as shovels and rakes, can and do break, and probably will not be reparable. Anybody choosing to hole up in a bunker is highly likely to be driven out by any number of situations for which they did not or could not adequately prepare. Once survivalists exit their sanctuary, they will either be stationary targets or nomadic ones on a lawless landscape. Those who plan to stay hidden away only for the time that the initial chaos and fighting lasts, then emerge with an ability to produce a high-demand product, will be the most likely to survive long-term. And even then, surviving at all may not be the most desirable option. Sometimes the worst fate of all can be getting exactly what you want.